Hello to our viewers across New Zealand and Australia. I'm Philip Duncan with your Easter weekend outlook. And the forecast, well, it's a little bit messy between now and then for some areas, and typical Easter weekend weather really, where a lot of places are sunny, but it's not quite perfectly settled with a little bit of wind and a couple of showers here and there. So we'll try and break it all down across New Zealand and Aussie. But we kick off with the Tuesday animated wind map, and today we've, just like yesterday, added on the relative humidity. The bright blue areas, that's where the humidity is at its highest. Coming out of this subtropical airflow, that's the reason why the North Island, especially these inland areas, are really feeling the humidity, and that's contributing to bigger afternoon downpours and potentially a few thunderstorms. So the bright blue is the humidity, the drier colours here, or the sort of orangey brown colours, that's a sign of much lower humidity, and that's thanks to a big high parked right about where Adelaide is, and that southeasterly wind turning around is a bit more of a northerly out towards Perth. So the thunderstorms are looking like this at the moment as we've recorded this video. Later on Tuesday morning you can see a couple of isolated thunderstorms near New Zealand and a few more up here to the north, all part of that humid airflow. Most of the thunderstorms that form in New Zealand are going to be fairly isolated over the next few days and caused by the afternoon heating, so they're more likely into the afternoons and early evening. This is associated with a low pressure system, a weak one, that's out in the Tasman, and over in Aussie, a couple up there in the tropics, but really it's this northerly flow and a southerly flow on the other side that are helping to produce a couple of thunderstorms out west. So let's get into the rainfall. Here's the last 24 hours in New Zealand, and as you can see, it's Waitomo, Waikato, Taranaki National Park and Nelson Ranges that got the downpours as we went through Monday, mostly dry in the east, right across the country. Here is the next 7 days coming up, the next week, right through till next Tuesday, and all the areas that you see in pink and the blue areas, that's anywhere from about 40 millimetres up to about 100 millimetres. So a lot of places are still going to get a bit of a downpour coming up, and if you didn't get it yesterday or you don't get it today, you might get it tonight or tomorrow or Thursday. So there's still more chances, but I must stress these areas in the very east, your rainfall totals are not much, anywhere between just 2 and 10 millimetres over the next week. And this is the 7-day map for our neighbours in Australia. Look at this, very dry in most places. A bit of rain coming back, a little bit of rain coming back, and that is worth keeping note of, because after the floods, you'll be wanting to keep a very close eye on any big downpours. And the bright blue on the edges here, once again, getting up to about 100 millimetres. The difference between this rain and the rain we saw a week ago, it's not penetrating so far inland. All right, let's now get into the actual forecast and take a look at Wednesday's setup around New Zealand, and that low that we were talking about in the Tasman still slowly moving in. Could be a couple of thunderstorms in the middle of that low, and also a couple more in that humid northerly, which is now on Wednesday starting to move a little bit further out to the east of New Zealand. So it's still another wet, cloudy day in many places, but mostly dry and a little cooler down in Southland and Otago and also South Canterbury. In Australia, that big high, a couple of showers, and that's the beginning of a few more days of those, continuing on around that eastern side where the winds certainly up around Queensland are turning easterly. By Thursday, as you can see, those showers, they continue around the top of Aussie. Around New Zealand, that low finally moves in. The more tropical airflow is out here over the Chathams and is also moving away, but we've got this system falling apart over the North Island, which will bring, again, more downpours for you. And there's just a little bubble of high pressure in the South Island. That's what is contributing to the lower rainfall totals now for Canterbury. Yesterday it was a little bit better looking. Today now that high looks as though it'll win. So let's go into the long weekend, and to be honest, in New Zealand it doesn't start off overly flash, because we've got these strong sou'westers blowing through, and they could be gale force here and there. So if you're going away camping, good luck with the tent. It won't be gale force everywhere, but just those exposed usual areas. Places like Auckland also pretty blustery. Big high pressure exiting sort of the New South Wales, Sydney area and South Australia area. That is also contributing to all those easterlies in the northern part. Into the weekends in South properly, Saturday, some low pressure forming north of Darwin and all the way down into the Coral Sea. Worth keeping an eye on even in New Zealand. But that big high exiting Sydney is heading our way. So things aren't too bad really as you go into Saturday in the New Zealand area. And Sunday, not too bad in the North Island, but windy once you get to Wellington southwards. In fact, gales are possible in some areas through the Southern Alps because these big strong westerlies are coming through. That's due to high pressure in northern New Zealand, low pressure down here. And we've got a series of lows Watch those closely in Australia. They could easily turn into a tropical cyclone or a bigger rainstorm. So this is why you're getting another 100 millimetres of rain in the next week, because of these systems that are lining up. And our final map for Easter Monday shows this system out here in the Tasman could be a weak tropical cyclone, which will be falling apart by the time it goes that far south, but worth monitoring, and more low pressure up here as well in the northern part of Australia. For New Zealand, there's nor'westers, so Easter Monday warms up, subtropical winds return. In the South Island, the windy westerlies don't stop, they keep blowing, and the rain clouds come up on the west coast thanks to a storm down here well south of New Zealand. But next week, that high, that low, they're both trying to reach New Zealand. That's all from me. We'll update you again on Wednesday with our next update as we head into the long weekend.